Two businesses, both doing 500K in revenue, both profitable, both growing, but one sells for 1.5 million and the other sells for 3 million. Same revenue, same growth, double the price. So what's the difference? The difference is systems. One business runs on the founder, the other runs on documented processes, and buyers pay a massive premium for the second one. So here's what most founders don't understand. Value is not just revenue. Value is also how well the business can run without you. That makes it transferable, right? And in this video, I'm going to show you what buyers actually look for, why chaos kills your valuation, and what you need to document to make your business worth more, even if you never plan to sell. So let's get into it. So most founders think that buyers care about revenue. How much are we making? What's the growth rate? How big is the opportunity? And so on, right? And yes, those things definitely matter, but that's not all that buyers actually are buying, right? They're buying a machine that produces money, not a person, not a job that they have to step into to produce the money. So when a buyer looks at your business, they're asking one question: can this business run without the current owner? And if the answer is yes, then the business is valuable. If the answer is no, then the business is risky, right? It's called key man risk, and that risk kills valuation. So here's what they're really evaluating. Can the team operate without the founder making every decision? Are the systems documented so that someone new could run them, right? Because you're going to exit the business, somebody has to replace you. And are the client relationships, company, or to the founder personally? Is the revenue predictable, or is it all based on the founder's hustle? They're not buying just your revenue, they're buying the infrastructure that generates revenue. And if that infrastructure only exists in your head, then there isn't that much to buy, really, right? Now, let me show you why founder dependence kills value. So when everything depends on you, then the business has what's called key man risk, meaning if you leave, the business breaks. And by the way, this is true also if somebody else in your business is that key person, right? If they would leave, the business breaks. That's also not great. So, but clients bought because of their, but let's say your clients or customers are buying because of their relationships with you, and the team only knows what to do because you tell them, and the systems only work because you run them, and revenue happens because you make it happen. When a buyer comes in, they're not buying a system, they're not buying a business, they're basically buying a job, right? They have to replace you. And replacing you is hard because nothing is documented. They don't know how you do what you do. They don't know why you make decisions you make. They don't know how the operations actually run. So they're taking a huge risk that they will be able to figure it out. And risk means lower price. Now, a founder-dependent business might sell for 2 to 3x annual EBITDA. It depends on the industry and the size of the company and so on. But the buyer basically knows they're going to spend the first year just trying to keep it from falling apart. And that's even if the buyer is interested in stepping into your shoes and basically buying themselves a job, right? A lot of the people won't be interested in that. They just want an asset that's running without them. And that's why a systemized business might sell for 5x EBITDA or even more. Again, depends on the size and the industry and so on. But basically, the buyer knows that they can step in and it keeps running, right? Even without them being daily involved. So same profit, maybe double, maybe even triple the valuation. And just because one business can operate without the founder, one business is basically a job and the other one is actually a business. So, okay, what does a systemized business actually look like? Not in theory, but in practice. So a systemized business has 4 things documented. First is how work gets done. So every major process is written down: how you onboard clients, how you deliver your service, how you handle support, how you run marketing campaigns, how you hire people, and so on, right? And not every tiny detail, but enough that someone in you could read it and execute without asking you 50 questions. Second thing is who owns what. There's a clear structure showing which person is responsible for which outcome. So let's say Sarah owns client success, Mike owns marketing, Jennifer owns operations. Not just job titles, but actual ownership with clear accountability. The third thing is how performance gets measured. So every key area has metrics: client retention rate, lead conversion rate, average project margin, support response time, and so on. And someone checks and updates those numbers regularly. So it's not just you in your head. They're visible metrics that anyone can look at and know if things are going well or if they're going poorly. Now, the fourth thing is how decisions get made. When something comes up, how do you handle it? What's the refund policy? What's the pricing discount policy? How do you escalate to leadership? What can team members decide on their own? And so on. So these rules have to be documented so decisions don't all flow through you, because then you become the bottleneck. Now let's talk about why most founders don't do it, even when they know, or they probably should know, that documentation adds so much value. So why doesn't just everybody do it? There's a few different reasons. First one is, to many people, it feels like a waste of time. So you're busy running the business, and stopping to write things down feels like it's slowing you down. Because you could be selling, you could be delivering, you could be fixing problems, putting out fires and so on. But instead, you feel like, okay, you'll be writing docs that nobody's asking for. So basically, you just don't do it. The second reason is you think, okay, I'll do it later. So you procrastinate. You'll do it when things slow down, when you have more time, when you hire someone to help. But guess what? Later means never, right? Later never comes. You're always busy. Things never slow down, and the documentation never happens. And the third reason is you don't think you're going to sell because you think, okay, this is my business. I built it. I'm just going to run it forever. So why document for a buyer that doesn't exist? But here's the thing, right? Documentation is not just for selling. It's for running a business that doesn't actually consume your life, because a business that buyers want to buy or pay a premium for is exactly the type of business that you will want to run, right? Because it's easier to run, it grows faster, and it produces more cash. So why wouldn't you want to have a business like that? So let's be clear about this. Even if you never sell your business, documentation makes it better, because documented businesses, like I said, they're easier to grow. You can delegate without everything breaking. You can hire someone and hand them a process instead of having to train them through trial and error every single time. You can step back from operations without the business falling apart. Documented businesses are way less stressful because you're not the only person who knows how things work. You can take a vacation without your phone or Slack blowing up. You can focus on strategy instead of constantly solving the same problems. Documented businesses are also more profitable because documented processes are consistent, and consistent processes produce better results with less waste. They're also easier to improve. You're not reinventing how to do things every time. You're following what works. You're iterating and improving it, right? So even if you run your business until you retire, documentation makes your life better. But it also gives you optionality. So maybe you don't want to sell now, but what if in 5 years you change your mind and you do want to sell it, right? Or what if you want to start something new? What if you get an opportunity you can't pass up? If your business is documented, you have options. You can sell it for real money. You can bring in a partner. You can step into like more boardroom owner role and let somebody else run it. You hire a CEO. If your business depends on you, you have no options. You're stuck running it forever, or you shut it down, which is what happens to too many business owners. They don't know what to do with it. They're stuck with it. They get burned out, and then they just let it fizzle out and they shut it down. So let's talk about what to document first, where to start, right? If you're looking at your business and you're thinking there's way too much to document, you're right, there is. You can't document everything at once. So here's what you do prioritize. You start with your core delivery process, how you actually deliver value to clients. So that's basically the most important thing, because if a buyer cannot figure out how to deliver your service, they can't run your business. So you document it step by step. What happens when a client signs up? What gets delivered and when, and how do you handle common situations? What quality standards do you have? Do you make it clear enough so anyone new could follow it? Next, you document your team structure. Who owns what? Who reports to whom? What is each person responsible for? And this shows the buyer that accountability exists beyond you. Next, you'll document your metrics. What numbers matter? How do you track them? What's good performance versus bad performance? And this shows the buyer the business is measurable and manageable. And next, you document your decision framework. So common situations and how you handle them, refund requests, pricing negotiations, client complaints, the hiring decision. And this shows the buyer that judgment is transferable and it's not locked in your head, right? There's a decision framework that team members can use. So you start with those 4 things and your business instantly becomes more valuable. So again, the difference in valuation will be dramatic if you systemize your business, right? Because a buyer sees the real business they can run. Like same profit will get a completely different valuation. The difference is maybe you spend 40 hours documenting how your business works, and that 40 hours can add multiple 6 figures and sometimes 7 figures to your valuation. It's basically the best investment you can make in your business. Even if you never sell, like I said, you build something that could be sold, and that means you've built something real. You're not the bottleneck. It's not going to burn you out. You can step away. It's a lot more fun to run, basically. So let me end with this. Your business is only as valuable as it is independent from you. So buyers don't pay for revenue that depends on the founder staying involved unless they're buying themselves a job. And even then, it's a kind of a nightmare to learn everything that you do because you are going to step out at some point. So like maybe you managed to sell it, but now you're contracted to stay inside the business for a prolonged period of time because otherwise it's not going to work. And maybe you don't want to do that. So buyers pay for systems that produce revenue, whether you're there or not. If everything lives in your head, you don't really own a business. You own a job that you can't really quit. So start documenting your core processes, your team structure, your metrics, your decision frameworks. And even if you never sell, you'll build a business that's easier to run and less dependent on you. And if you do sell, you'll get paid what your business is actually worth. And that's the difference between building something that traps you and building something that actually sets you free.